First, tonight, we are inching closer and closer to truth and justice and holding those that abuse power accountable. It's, I think, going to take a while because there's probably so many of them. The Durham probe is now a full-scale criminal investigation. The Horowitz report is expected to be out this month. I know we were also told that last month, but hopefully we'll get it this month. And a day of reckoning is on the horizon for the deep state. From the rigged investigation into Hillary Clinton to the dirty Steele dossier to rampant evidence of FISA abuse, the media mob continues to ignore the real 2016 election scandal. And tonight, we're learning even more about a massive media scandal because journalist Lee Smith, in a new bombshell book, has uncovered more evidence of a possible pay-to-publish scheme involving Fusion GPS and high-profile reporters. And as our own Greg Jarrett points out, the so-called whistleblower may even be implicated in the upcoming FISA report due to his alleged ties to John Brennan and others. Now, the hysteria we see over Ukraine is just the latest chapter in what's been a 3-year-long campaign. You guys, it's been that long to think about it, 3 years of constant lies, smears, besmirchments, to take down a duly elected president. It is a never-ending impeachment obsession from even before, I would argue, before his actual election. This is now about overturning the results of the 2016 election and overturning the will of the American people. Now, joining me now for reaction, author of the book Witch Hunt, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, along with former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman, and author of the book Plot Against the President, journalist Lee Smith. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. Greg, let me start with you with this news about Nunes sending the letter saying we want to have you as a witness. I find it, of course, troubling because the Democrats can veto whatever it is the Republicans want. What's your take on this?
It underscores the unfairness of this. To think of it, if you want to call a witness, you have to get the other side's permission. When I tried cases, I didn't have to turn to the prosecutor or the plaintiff's attorney and say, may I please call my first witness? No, you may not. So, you know, the first witness you want to call would be the whistleblower. Schiff will say, denied. I'd like you, Mr. Schiff, to testify. Denied. I'd like your staff that had contact with it was denied. I mean, this is anathema to fundamental fairness and due process, but it does underscore that, as well as the conflict of interest. The guy presiding over the impeachment hearing is a fact witness himself, concealing his contact with a whistleblower who's not a whistleblower under the law. I mean, this is terrible.
Yeah, you know, Brett, I mean, this is what the American people are seeing. It comes down, forget about your party and about partisanship or whether you like Trump or not. This is inherently unfair. The Americans are willing to have this investigation happen, but they want to be able to trust the outcome. And of course, process is the thing that leads us to the truth. So when we hear about this, and clearly I think the Republicans want to point out this unfairness, and this request makes it clear that there is a conflict and that, of course, Schiff is going to say, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's going to highlight these things to the American people. Is that a large part of what matters here when it comes to how this plays out?
Well, this is at the heart, and I love what Greg said, because fairness and due process are important in this procedure that's going forward, and the American people aren't seeing it. And as a prosecutor, I remember being told and taught, fastest way you can throw your case out of court is if the government loses credibility, if the government can't be trusted. Well, here you have the government launching an investigation of a sitting president based on suspicious facts surrounding a whistleblower that appears to be politically connected, and then they lie about their interactions with the whistleblower. For me, this would be an absolute nightmare. I wouldn't want to touch this case with a 10-foot pole. But why are they embracing it? Because they've lost at every point until now. And as you said, they've been focused on impeachment since 2016.
Well, yeah, and Lee, congratulations on your book. What we're seeing here, at the same time, ranging from the Russia dossier hoax to this, there's a not just a sloppiness to what's been done, but people who expect not to be found out, But most of all,
Right.
they also expect it to be, backed up by media. They've worked with media through this procedure.
Yes.
Tell us what you think, because we've got so many elements here of people. It's all hearsay and gossip, and they've relied on newspaper stories. What's your take on that element?
Well, I think what you were saying before about this started before the election is absolutely correct. And in my book, I have different sources who show documents and sources that show that this began in March 2016. And you saw, before the election, you saw a coordination between Clinton operatives and the press. This lasted until the election. And then after the election, Clinton operatives were less important than Obama officials. This is one of the things we're seeing now. The whistleblower issue, the push to impeach the president, this is on a continuum. This has been going on for more than 3 years. And I think it's, with all due respect, I think it's a little more than unfairness. I think we are testing the patience of the American public.
Yes, and we can, I guess, take Mark Zaid at his word that, in fact, he used the word coup. Right, Greg?
Yeah, he did. Back in 2017.
They have no shame about that. They're almost proud of it. They were still on the Twitter. Didn't bother to delete them. And then we've got this, the other whistleblower's attorney, so-called whistleblower, sending a cease and desist letter to President Trump. What is that all about?
It's an embarrassment to the two lawyers who wrote it. Cease and desist from exercising your First Amendment right to defend yourself, to rebut a false accusation. And they insanely cite 3 laws: witness tampering. The president doesn't even know who the witness is. You can't tamper with a witness you haven't identified. Obstruction of justice. Nothing has been obstructed, that's for sure. And finally, retaliation against a witness. If you actually read the statute, the witness has to have been killed or harmed already. Yeah. He hasn't been. This is ridiculous.
They seem to be trying to criminalize, when it comes to the president, self-defense and the ability to engage in your defense. The ability also as president, because one of the reasons he's elected was American people noticed that there was something wrong. There was some shenanigans, that there was maybe not the rule of law, that there was a separate kind of set of justice for people in general. Trump's election itself was a statement and a desire that we wanted things to be more clear and confronted. He's doing that. And as I've noted, the impeachment, the effort for impeachment, is almost necessary if we were right in 2016 that this was inevitable. And now we see historically that it seems to have been expected and arranged for quite some time. Gentlemen, Greg, Brett, and Lee, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Coming up next, the call to confiscate guns. That's, I guess, right next in line, right?